And
Yeah.
now you mentioned something, the prison pipeline.
Yeah.
I don't know if our listeners know what the prison pipeline is. Could you explain that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just it's basically ways in which, in systemic ways in which young men are kind of preempted for prison to get prepared for prison. And that can come in several different ways. And as far as like you add the graduation rate and you add living in poverty, to some of these things. And for example, even in the schools that I worked in as a student advocate, you had a school that was, it's a predominantly white school, but you're talking about 2,000 students, and you got about 400 to 500 who are African American. And these young men would be getting put out of class, and they would go to the detention room. So if you got a school that's predominantly a white school, and then you have a detention center, but the detention center is filled with African American kids, then you got to understand you're basically preparing them to go to prison because of how it's structured. Then you have these schools who kind of operate kind of like prisons, where you got kids who come in, they come through metal detectors. When they go in the classroom, the door locks behind them to the classroom as if it was, a prison door, what have you, and then you have these rules and regulations that are designed and set up for failure. It's not set up for success. It's not set up to be redemptive. Is set up to be for consequences and punishment or what have you. And so there's just so many systemic things that are in place that kind of softens the kids' minds and get them comfortable with it, and kind of massages them into this psychological thought process that, well, maybe prison isn't so bad. It's not quite a huge leap or transition from being free to being incarcerated, because there's so many similarities. So that, when kids get caught up and they make this transition, unfortunately, from living in a free society to confined in a prison, that has a psychological effect on these kids. And so, that's just one aspect of what I refer to as this, this prison pipeline. And then you look at, the murder rate of African Americans murdering each other and kids murdering each other. And then, being fatherless. There's so many layers to this thing, but that's what I refer to when I talk about the prison pipeline. All of these variables in life that kind of squeezes you down and funnels you down and closes the opportunity gap to the point where, based on your situation and circumstance and your past and your experiences, it kind of funnels you into this system. And that system is incarceration. That system is prison,
Wow.
basically. And once you're caught up in it, you get a record or what have you, that's where it really gets crazy, because it's hard to get out of it. Obviously, I mean, you can get out of it. Let's be clear about that. You can get out of it, but it becomes extremely difficult once a young man has a felony, and then, you got to try to reintegrate them back into society and try to, navigate, getting them a job or housing. And it's just a big web.
Mhm. Well, and it sounds like, I mean, gosh, just in your formative years, anywhere, any direction a Black kid looks, there are images and symbols and environments that are preparing you and conditioning you to define yourself a certain way.
Absolutely.
And then that leads to uh, wrong beliefs. And then if you face incrimination, prosecution, and imprisonment, then those things that were defining you, now the system defines you and stays with you the rest of your life. And so it's like, no matter what, especially in your formative years, how important that is. And I love what you said. It's like all of those things in the school, the metal detectors, the locking doors. How much does that influence the way teachers view kids and view them as suspect? And so when you say sending your boys to school with suits on is trying to redefine how people would look at them, I think that's very powerful to I guess challenge the assumptions that are being made about who a Black boy is within
Yeah,
the.
you hit the nail on the head with basically challenging the assumption. That's like very critical because we do assume and we do have prejudices and racism does exist. It's alive and well, and there's a lot of people in positions of power who hold these thoughts and who hold these perspectives. So the thing is, we're in a war. It's just that simple, and we need to be able to put our kids in. Number one, we need to put parameters around them and give them advice and coach them in situations and give them tools. And the suit is nothing more than a tool. Giving them tools to help navigate the system, and give them the best chance at success from the onset. That's the critical piece is from the onset. It's unfortunate that it's that way in America, but the reality is the reality. And I can take two Black boys and I can let one dress himself however he wants to dress according to the culture under which he lives. And I can take another young and give him the knowledge that I have and give him the resources that I have, which might happen to be a suit, and put it on them. They can have the same scholastic aptitude. They can come from the same environment or what have you. But if you present those two boys together to the same people, oftentimes and more times than not, it is going to be the young man that is in a suit who's going to receive the benefit of the doubt. And he's going to be the one that typically people would feel more comfortable. And this is not just, the young Black man, the white people feeling comfortable with the young Black man. This is all people being comfortable with the young Black man that has the suit on, and it's just a sad reality that we have to take these kinds of steps in order to, give our kids an opportunity just to be seen as normal. That's the key. Is how just to be seen, because there are so many young men who operate in this world as themselves, as their God-given selves, with whatever resources they have or lack thereof. But the reality is they're not seen. And so when you walk in a society and live in a society and dwell in a society under which you feel devalued and you're not seen, then you kind of act out and you start to do things that are uncharacteristic of your natural behavior.
Wow.